I'm pretty sure this has been mentioned or talked about on several occasions, but, it can never be really overstated in this regard. Even though, criticism goes around, I'm the one that criticizes, as well, along with a lot of others, along with anybody else who watches sports. There's criticism that's always going to come along with it. It's just a part of the association. It's a part of the business, and it's a part of just the nature of sports itself. And, I speak on that by saying Coach Ty Lue, when I think about his situation, even though I've criticized some things that he does that I don't like and giving him praise for things that he does that I do like, I do understand that it's very difficult. And to me, honestly, he might have the hardest job in the NBA in regards to what he's up against every night for the most part. Now, there again, you look at the team that this team has, the Clippers, and everybody that's on it, how they play, and the names on the roster. And from top to bottom, they look like a championship team, in regards to their roster on paper. Now, as far as what's been put on display in regards to this season specifically, they don't look like a championship team as of yet because due to injury and things of that nature. And of course, there's other, nuances that comes along with that, players being sent to the G League, being sent back and forth, which I'm talking about Brandon Boston Jr., Musa Diabate, Jason Preston. It just seems like the continuity factor with this team seems to be shaky and a question mark, in regards to it. So to me, I feel like, Ty Lue has the hardest job. For one, in main particular reason is due to health. He doesn't even know when his superstars are going to play. He doesn't know how much they're going to be in and out of the lineup. He's got a new player, a new toy in John Wall, who has, expressed some frustration of lack of playing the way he wants to in regards to minutes and playing back-to-backs. And as I said, just as I just alluded to, or as I just said, hell, you don't even know when your best player, Kawhi Leonard, is going to be out there on the floor from time to time, along with Paul George, due to the fact that both of them are very injury prone, even though they are very, very exceptional players when they're on the court. And that's a very hard thing to do, is to coach back and forth, try to make sure everybody is going to, contribute, everybody's getting their minutes, trying to appeal to everybody, make everybody happy. And in the same breath, you're doing this from night to night, trying to figure out, or don't even know whether you're going to have Kawhi or PG there to help or assist you. And you're just kind of winging it day by day. And I understand, Ty Lue's situation, because that seems very, very odd. He might be the only coach in the league that really doesn't have a grasp on, his 2-star players and how much they can contribute, and not knowing, the unknown is very evident in his situation, seems to be more than any other coach in the NBA, or at least it just seems that way. And it's going to seem that way, I know, because the Clippers have expectations to win championships, or to win a championship, at least this year, and a lot of people have them at the top of the food chain when it comes to that. The problem is with the Clippers is you just don't know how many games Kawhi Leonard's going to play. And Kawhi Leonard's my favorite player, and we all know this. There's no need for me to reiterate it, but I mean, the facts are the facts. You don't know how much Kawhi is going to play. He already was load managing years before he had an ACL injury. And, on top of that, he just, right now, there's an ankle injury that he's nursing. It's, something minor, nothing major. Along with Paul George, he's having issues with his hamstring tendon, and that could be a foreseeable problem in the future, long term, more than what people might even expect. So when you look at that in its entirety, it's a very, very mind-boggling situation. So from night to night, Ty Lue is trying to plug in players here and there, put them in positions they're really not comfortable with, and try to get the best out of them while trying to win NBA games, while the season is happening, and while they have all these expectations on top of their head, and everybody is talking against them in the same breath because they're not seeing Kawhi Leonard as much. There was a lot of concern there, especially about a couple weeks ago. And now Paul George has a tendon issue with his hamstring, which seems kind of strange to me, because at first, it was just listed as, a minor hamstring injury. Then all of a sudden, it was a hamstring strain in tendon, and to me that sounds a little bit worse than actually just a regular, like a hamstring injury, or just seems as if, I'll say this much, it seems as if it got pushed a little bit higher, or like a higher up in stages, sort of say, you know what I'm saying? So it just sounds more serious than what it did or the way they portrayed it at first. So it's like, you're really fighting a losing battle, seems like, with Ty Lue. And Ty Lue, I've criticized him before on some of his coaching decisions, being concise on his lineups and everything like that. But I also got to give him credit still, because, he is trying to find a way to keep it all together, and not panic or anything like that, and just try to, be the best coach he can be with limitations. Even though he has Norman Powell and all these other pieces, these other guys are just role players. They're not superstars. And when your two superstars are not there and they're not available, that's when you have to make all type of adjustments. And they might be adjustments that players don't like, players don't agree with, and even adjustments that you don't agree with as a coach. But you have to do what you got to do to try to get over the hump, because you see that your two star players are not that reliable based upon their injury history and based upon what you're seeing this year. And it's like, you're trying to get the best out of everybody on the team, but you're never going to see the best out of everybody on the team, due to the fact that your star players are not doing their part, and everybody else has to kind of make up for their role and make up for their part and do their own. It's almost like putting too much on players sometimes. Now, good thing for the Clippers, they have so much depth where they can pull out and win games and find ways to, get over the hump in games, because they have so much depth. But at the same time, like I said, you're putting more onus on other players who really are not in position to play at that level. Nobody can replace Kawhi Leonard. Nobody can replace Paul George. They're just two of the best players on the team, and they can't be replaced. What they can do on the floor, what they can give you on both ends of the floor, you can't replace that. You see what I'm saying? But Ty Lue does his best, and his best is very, very good, because he keeps this team uprooted and everything as much as he can with what he has to work with. And on top of that, when you look at this situation, you look at the Clippers a lot of times, or certain times this season or last season, whenever, without Kawhi and PG there, they find themselves down 20 plus points in games and all these type things, being down, and they find themselves coming back, breaking big leads, coming back and tying games and getting back in it. But sometimes they just don't have the spirit, or maybe not the spirit, they just don't have the energy to muster up and complete a big comeback victory. Just the other night against the Portland Trail Blazers, they were down 18. They had to make a huge comeback. Thank goodness for everybody playing together as much as they can, and being accountable for one another as much as they could. Norman Powell ended up with like 32 points. Reggie Jackson had like 12 and 24. Zubac had a double-double. I mean, thank goodness they were able to come back in that one and get a big victory there. Otherwise, they'd be like in a 2 or 3 game losing streak. Zubac, the game before that, comes up with the best game of his life, having 31 points and 29 rebounds, which might not ever happen again. But at the same time, it was very insightful to see that he's able to play with that type of edge or that type of spirit, because that's what they've been needing out of him since he's been on the Clippers. And then, they find themselves losing to Utah, but they find themselves rallying back in that game, but they couldn't complete the victory. And this is my point. They're trying to ask other players to do other things that they're just not capable of doing. And Ty Lue does his best to keep it all together, but it's got to be a tough job to see your 2 star players, or at least one of your star players, out a lot of times, and you can't get the full satisfaction of everything you have on your roster, which is a dominant team, if you ask me, if they're healthy. So, I mean, it's got to be a tough job for that. And I have to give Ty Lue credit in regards to that. I still don't take away the criticism of how he could be stubborn sometime and not be concise with his lineups and not, do certain things. But I mean, at the same time, I still stand on what I say, but I understand, mistakes happen and things like that. But you also got to understand too, as I just said, he doesn't always have his superstar players on the floor for everything to flow go exactly the way it's supposed to. So with that being said, I give Ty Lue credit for keeping it together as much as he can. And a lot of people believe the success of this team really comes through him rather than anybody else, because when you look at this team and their success, it's really come through Ty Lue, because more or less their superstars have not been available enough for their success to reach its peak. And that's just the honest facts. So hopefully, going forward, maybe the next game or two, you will see Kawhi and PG, and hopefully they can string together some consistency of games of being together on the floor along with this team, so we can really actually see what the Clippers look like as a whole, with Norman Powell, with Robert Covington, with Luke Kennard, Terrence Mann, Nico Batum, Marcus Morris. I can go on and on. They got a lot of talent on their team on both sides of the floor, defense and offense, and the way Big Zoo is hawking and holding down the rebounds. Honestly, if they're all on the floor together, I don't really see not many teams even competing with them most nights. Not unless they just decide to just take a night off and, just BS around or something like that. But really, most teams in the NBA wouldn't even be able to stand on the same floor with the Clippers if they're 100% healthy. So let's just hope that everybody, gets healthy and everything. And hopefully they can make Ty Lue's job a little bit easier in regards to coaching and keeping all this together, because without your superstars, you can only do but so much. And honestly, Ty Lue has got the best out of these players more than any other coach in the NBA might be able to. So got to give him credit there. But hopefully improvements happen on his end. Hopefully, his superstars get healthy, and all the rest might be history. Because if that happens, you'll see a dominant team and possibly a team winning the championship. But hey, that's my take on everything. Leave any comments in the comment section. Check out my other videos if you haven't. And also, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you haven't as well. And hey, till next time.